October 15th, 1970 was quite a day for me. I was 18 and a half, and I was a sophomore at the University of Pennsylvania. I was living off campus at 34th off Walnut Street in an old 3-story house with a couple of roommates. And somebody said to me, "There's a Grateful Dead concert tonight on campus." And I was like, whoa, how'd that happen? So as it turned out, Drexel University had hired the Grateful Dead last minute to play their homecoming, but they couldn't get their regular auditorium. So they made a deal with the University of Pennsylvania, where I was a student. Blaze is running over to the river. It's like a magnet. It's over by those yellow tamaracks. Hopefully he won't get wet. He's trying to heal from a bad infection on his neck. So anyway, they made a deal with the University of Pennsylvania, where I was a student, to stage the concert at Irvine Auditorium, which was this fantastic, sort of a domed brick gothic auditorium. And it held, I think, 900 people. The stage, when you stood right in front of the stage in the orchestra pit, the stage was kind of like at chest height. And I had some friends that were going. Tickets, I think, were $5. And I can't remember who it was, had some purple acid. So I had done LSD 2 or 3 times previously, once at Exeter, spring of '69. And then once at Penn, I think it was in the fall of '69. So this would have been possibly my 3rd experience. So we all took it, and we went to the show. It was an amazing experience on so many levels, because first of all, it was a 3-set show. And I don't remember exactly when it started, let's say 8 p.m., and I don't think it got out till after 2. And it consisted of an opening set by what they would call at the time the acoustic Grateful Dead, which was crazy good because they had just released 2 acoustically influenced albums, Workingman's Dead and American Beauty. And these albums, had all the classics: Uncle John's Band, Addicts of My Mind, Candyman, Front of the Devil, Ripple. I mean, many of their best songs were included, had just been released. It was also Bob Weir's 23rd birthday. He's exactly 5 years older than me. 4.5. I'm 5 years older than my kid brother, so Bob Weir was sort of like my older brother, if you look at it that way, or he could have been my older brother. So the Grateful Dead came out, and they were all seated. They were all playing acoustic instruments. It was amazing. Then the New Riders of the Purple Sage came out, and they had this album that had just come out called Power Glide, that had stuff like Louisiana Woman, and it was Hand Jive. Marmaduke Dawson and Dave Torbert on bass. And Jerry sat in on a pedal steel guitar. And then after they were done, the Electric Dead came out. And of course at that point, I was tripping my brains out. And I had worked my way up to what they call today the rail. But in my time, we didn't have rails. I was just right there, and the edge of the stage was right at my chest level. And Jerry was standing like a yard away from me. So it wasn't like he was up on a 15-foot stage and I was back 50 yards behind metal gates with security guards glowering at me. This was just so casual, so intimate. And I have some very vivid memories. One of them was Pigpen singing "Turn on Your Lovelight." I believe Bob Weir learned everything about singing and showmanship from Pigpen. At this time, Weir 23, he was always named the Kid. He was a goofball, a little bit shy, but definitely quirky and funny. But Pig, who was also apparently very shy, changed when he got on stage. And boy, was he a rabble-rouser. He could just amp people up and get people dancing. It was that whole blues thing that he did. I remember them playing Uncle John's Band. But I also remember some of their intense jams. And I was peaking on the LSD, standing there. And I remember Weir, Garcia, and Lesh standing like 5 feet from me, close together, like they were within a yard or two of each other, playing with each other. I felt like I was inside a nuclear reactor, watching energy be generated and unleashed at a level that I never dreamed possible. I mean, it was seared into my mind. And it was so freeing and beautiful, and felt like I was flying. So long story short, the end of the show, I left with some of my friends, and somehow this girl I knew, indirectly through friends, ended up walking with me all the way to my house. And I don't remember much except that we ended up in bed and I lost my virginity that night. Yeah, I was a protected kid, raised as an altar boy. I lived on a dead-end road in Irvine, New York, and went to a private school in Greenwich, which was 30 minutes away. I didn't have a car, I didn't have a way to see friends. Then I was shipped off to a boarding school, and I was shipped off to France, then back to the boarding school, and then finally to the big city of Philadelphia, where I was able to, be more free. So, amazing as it may sound, I was an 18-year-old virgin, and that girl left afterwards. I remember waking up the next day and wow, that was a lot. My first dead show, and I lost my virginity. All at the same time. It took me a while to digest what had happened. This is Scribner Bridge. Pretty cool. Amazing. Quite a cool place in here. There's a maniac that lives around here that kept kicking out the barn boards, and the town dutifully replaced them a few times, and they got kicked out again. So they finally just put plywood in. Looks like hell. You can't take a decent picture of this bridge anymore because of this. Did it on both sides. This is when you need one of those cameras to get people on tape doing stuff. Pretty sad. Here's Rocky Hooper's abandoned farm. So back to my story about me and the Grateful Dead. I think it was 3 or 4 months later, the Dead were playing at the Fillmore East. I think it was February of '71. And my crew of buddies and friends said, let's drive up to New York and see the Dead at the Fillmore East. So we all piled into a car. There must have been 4 or 5 of us. I think it was largely the same group. And we took the acid on the way up. So we were coming onto it as we entered the Fillmore. And it was really good and strong. And I could feel it coming on. And I remember my buddy, I can't remember his name right now. Kenny. He slowly said each of our names very deliberately, like he was calling on us for help. And with each new name that he named, that he spoke, that he called out, there was an increasing sense of panic in his voice. Until when he said the last name, he was almost crying, like in agony, like a man drowning. So I remember before I sort of turned to see what was going on, thinking, oh no, I don't need this. I mean, I was already feeling a little unmoored, a little untethered, which is what LSD does. It kind of like frees you from your ego, sometimes in a very fast and confusing way. So I started to feel a little uncomfortable myself, but I turned to him at that moment, and I could see he needed my help, so I became involved with trying to help him. And I knew that there was a room at the Fillmore. I'd heard about this bad trip room. So I said, Kenny, let's go get some air. So we got up and we walked up the aisle out to the lobby. And there was a woman there. And I told her what was going on. And she said, oh yeah, come with me. So she took us into this room down a hallway with some very comfortable places to sit, candles, tapestries. It was set up like a little bailiwick, a womb. And she talked to him for a little while, and she got him to calm down. And then I talked to him for a while. I would say within 10 or 15 minutes, he was okay. And we went back. And the rest of the show was fantastic. I personally have had a similar experience. And it's very scary. It's literally like the death of your ego. And your immediate reaction is panic and fear, but once you let go of the panic and the fear, everything is cool. It really illustrates that old saying, you have nothing to fear but fear itself. I have so many stories from the 70s because I saw so much live music that it's ridiculous. I saw the Dead probably another 20 times. Jefferson Airplane, the Allman Brothers, with and without Dwayne. I saw Hot Tuna. Anyway, it's a gorgeous day today. Absolutely beautiful. My wife is in England. She left the house at 9:45 yesterday morning and arrived in London at 1:30 in the morning last night. And then she had to take a 2-hour ride with her daughter up to 2 hours northeast of London, to where her grandson is serving in the Air Force. I think that's enough for today.